Trying to clean up my act. Well, welcome everybody to another Science at 30 City. You know, we've been doing these now, I think we're coming close to the end of our second year. So we've been every other week in the spring and fall semesters, we've been running, having local scientists and scholars give talks, usually of a scientific or technical nature. I think we have one more left. We're going to have Professor Durant, who's put together a cool grant where he's working on dementia in the North Country. So we're talking about dementia treatment. So you may be seeing a lot of, I think that may get a lot of press. So that's the last one for this semester. Then we're going to be on to next semester. So I'm already trying to book people. So if you know anybody who's interested or have any topics you'd like to see, let me know. But tonight we have Jeff Cochran. This is sort of an unusual one because Jeff rose to the challenge. His topic, he's basically, he's sort of a local poet, artist. I've seen him give other talks, very showmanship, if I have to think of him. He definitely knows how to put on a show. He's been a local resident for 30 years. He has 2 adult children. His mother's a native Native American Flathead Reservation. He's also been a cartoonist and essayist with what was the name of the journal? The
News from Indian Country.
Indian Country for a while. And he's been doing presentations on black elk, who we're going to hear a lot about. Sounds like which I'm excited about. I say accepted the challenge. It was definitely a challenge because this talk series has mostly been focused on science. And we have to ask, what is science? Is science the way of knowing nature, or is it simply a way of knowing nature? And I think what we're going to see today is a different perspective on how people look at natural phenomena. I think it's going to be really cool to think about how compare and contrast different cultures' takes on it. And maybe we'll be able to see some different insights because we're looking at it from a different side or a different point of view. So I'm excited about this talk. I can't wait to hear. I imagine it's going to make me think new things, which is what this whole series is about. So I'm going to leave you with Jeff, and have fun.
I need a microphone.
Do you want a microphone?
I don't know, but I know that you guys go like this if my voice goes too low, all right? Thank you very much. Yeah, I will need, I bet I will. I'm not an electromagnetic scientist, and I'm not a Sioux. I'm not speaking for them, but when I was reading Black Elk Speaks, while I was reading it, I saw the laws of electromagnetics that I learned in physics class. And for 20 years, I've been trying to put it together so I could say what I saw to other people, not only honoring electromagnetic science, but also honoring Black Elk and the full extent of him as a holy man. This is my most recent attempt. The Sioux Holy Man Black Elk taught me the science of electromagnetism. Ralph Waldo Emerson asks us to seek cosmic imagination, expressing in graceful fable the laws of the world, so that mythology is beautiful poetry on one side, at any moment convertible to severe science on the other. These words aptly refer to my presentation. I have a love for science, but I'm a poet and a Native American. When I read Black Elk telling the story of horses running in a cloud, I realized that I had learned what he was describing in physics class, the emergence of light from an electromagnetic field. That began 20 years of studying and sharing how Black Elk taught the science of our natural world and the science of the unnatural city life that would emerge because of the discovery and mechanical harnessing of the Earth's electromagnetic field. Using this slideshow of personal drawings and photographs, I will share traditional Sioux science and Black Elk's discovery of electromagnetic light in 1872. Black Elk understood and accepted that this discovery would make a good nation over. the Sioux Nation would be changed forever. My focus will be on Black Elk's teachings, but I will refer to the life and work of Scottish physicist James Clerk Maxwell, a contemporary of Black Elk's. Maxwell's discoveries guided me to recognize the severe science in Black Elk's graceful fable. In 1873, Maxwell published Electricity and Magnetism. His discoveries made the world over. Maxwell brought the world into the atomic and electromagnetic age. Maxwell's biography is titled The Man Who Changed Everything. I was encouraged in my studies by the words of contemporary Native American elders. Albert Whitehead says, "We must bring oral traditions and scientific knowledge together and make them equal." Vine Deloria Jr. asks us to discover a way that Indian traditions can contribute to the understanding of scientific beliefs at enough specific points so that Indian traditions will be taken seriously as valid bodies of knowledge. He describes Black Elk's teachings as a key to the translation from modern American into older American Indian modes of thought. James Clerk Maxwell himself was aware that scientific knowledge can be offered in many forms of cultural expression, saying, "For the sake of persons of different types of mind, scientific truth should be expressed in different forms and should be regarded as equally scientific whether it appears in the robust form and vivid coloring of the physical illustration or the tenuity and paleness of symbolic expression." We receive much of what we know from Black Elk's teachings from the American epic poet John G. Neinhart, who gifted the world with the book Black Elk Speaks. As Black Elk says of his teachings, it is true, and it is beautiful, and it is for all men. The Sioux say that what I'm about to share with you is very wakan. And most often that's translated as spiritual. But the Lakota actually say that wakan just means difficult to understand. So what I'm sharing with you is very difficult to understand. And so I suggest we follow the advice of James Clerk Maxwell. When faced with something very wakan, the only thing to do was to adopt the attitude of thoroughly conscious ignorance that is the prelude to every real advance in science.
Is it not working?
Stop the cameras, the technology has failed. There, yeah.
There you go.
So here's so we're always going to be juxtaposing between a holy man and a scientist, and this is Black Elk on Harney Peak praying to the sun giving thanks to the sun, the sun and standing on the earth, the earth and the water rising up, the light of the sky and the air in the sky coming down, which is what the pipe represents. The pipe itself being the earth and the water, and the stem being the heavens of the air and the sun. And he's giving thanks to the sun that's going to bring the four winds that hold the life together, just as the sun and the four directions hold this bioregion together that we are now inside of this building. I think that's just a nervous thumb. This is the cover of Black Elk's biography, of Maxwell's biography, appropriately named "Man Who Changed Everything." So we begin the lesson with the medicine wheel. The two roads. This is essentially to be lifted up into the sky. This represents the winter, the spring, the summer, and the fall. And what we have is the difficult road and the good red road. And so the good red road is the road, let's see, in this building. So the south is that way, the north is that way. So this is the sun that goes like this, which is the sun that brings the spring up and the winter down. And this is the sun of the sunrise and the sunset. And essentially, now we're talking about electromagnetics, but we're talking about the sun. Electromagnetics, we're talking about the sun. So we're talking about the sun, and this is the map of the sky. The two dominant ways we know the sun are its passage from east to west and its passage from north to south endlessly. So that's the foundation of this symbol, and it's a foundation of the four winds. For each of these directions is going to cause us on Earth to have a different experience of what the sun, the electromagnetic light, is doing on Earth and how we experience it. So here's how we learn in science. Here's the day sun, and here's the year sun. In our life, we wake up in the morning because the sun comes in our body. We go to sleep because the sun goes out of our body. The sun. In our body, we get up. Sun. We go to sleep. So, and then this sun goes like this, brings all of as the sun comes up from the south, which we're witnessing right now, all of the migrating birds come up. The sun that's coming up from the south right now is making the hibernating animals come up. The sun that comes from the south right now is making the insects become awake, and all the life forms become alive. The sun that's coming from the south right now is filling the water of the seeds, and the water is rising up. The sun from the south is water. The sun and water is life. That's a different sun than the. I'm gonna try it now. That's a different. So the sun of the south is water. The sun of the east is the sun of just the light, just the light. The sun of the south is the water. The sun of the west is the setting sun of light, or the reflectant objects, or the material world. Because the west, we're in this building. This building is going to that way, 640 miles an hour. So we're physical objects going that way into the cosmic wind. So the cosmic wind is always coming from the east. And we're physical bodies always traveling that way, but the wind is always come from the east. And the aurora borealis is always up there. And life is going to come from down there. And that's where we always are, wherever we are on Earth. And this is fit. So this is Black Elk science. Is Oglala. How are you going to teach people where you are? There's these four winds. There's one sun, but they have four manifestations. So this is, we tip the wheel. This is winter, spring, summer, fall. Night, dawn, noon, sunset, like that. So we're going to tip the wheel. I'm going to figure out how to use this 4 weeks sun. And we got this. Now here's another lesson. So we got the wheel, white, winter, and the rainbow. And this is one of the oldest forms of understanding physics of the world. Is north, the white goddess. South, all of the south is the rainbow goddess. Spring, summer, fall, winter, like that. So if my spine goes backwards toward the North Pole, backward, and then I come this way, east, south, west, north, like that. Spring blossoms, south, the fire fills with water, the fruit rises, the fruit's going to fall down and return to the earth, that's air, that's fire, that's water. The 4 elements, that's the Sioux element chart. There isn't a jillion of them, there's only 4. I mean, like our element chart, right? We got 4 elements and they're related to 4 directions, and we're always in this sacred hoop of the 4 directions. So this is, so again, the south, the spring rises up and all things become green. The sun, the winter comes down from the north, the whiteness comes down from the north and makes the rainbow of life. And we're back, and then we can go back, we can go right to this, and that's held in this. But let's go on to this. So this is a green hoop, and Black Belt constantly refers to the green hoop, and the green hoop represents the eternal life of plants, and the unknowing as the seeds fall, the fruit falls and returns to the earth or is eaten. The seeds go underneath the ground, underneath the whiteness, and sleep all winter long. And then they're born again, or they come out because the sun's rising back up. Now the plants taught us this also about our personal physical life. Now this is a Sioux thing, or a quote-unquote spiritual thing about the transmigration of souls. We pass away, we don't know when we live from youth to adult to elder, and then we pass on. We pass on, but we pass around again and are born again in this. And the tradition of reincarnation is something we got from the plants and is held on to by us having no idea. I'm going to keep facing south like this because one of the things that Black Belt says is we always face south. And it helps, and I hope it will help you in the room if we try to make this in the room, that that's the north, that you keep remembering that's the north, that's the sunset, that's the sunrise, that's where the plants, that's where the sun is that rises up north, right? So the more you help me to understand that, the more I'll wander in my brain, right? Or because I want to put this on the ground in the room, because actually this would be much, this should all be taught outside. So anyway, so what we have is, and what I've been repeating is the sunrise, the sun at noon, the sunset, and the sun is under you. The sun rises, the sun noon, the sunset, the sun is under you. The green hoop is the green hoop of life that's all around the green hoop of plant life that's all around the earth, particularly the equatorial green hoop. But if you move it over, you got the continental green hoop of plants that take care of us. And if you bring it closer, you have the specific green hoop of plants that are right around this building. And if you take it closer, you have the green hoop of plants that are in your bowl as you eat dinner. So that could be called a religious symbol. But it's also just a way to travel with your mind scientifically to the fact that you're on the earth and being taken care of by the great green hoop. Even if you're eating dinner, it comes from the great green hoop of life that's held together by the great tree of life that runs through the center of the earth from the north to the south, whose wings are the aurora borealis, the white giant that lives. Now we'll go back. So we're staying with the electromagnetic physics of light. Is we have light as light, just the light from the sun. We have light and water, and what Black Belt calls the power to make grow. So these are just terms for electromagnetic light. One sun on Earth does just the light that's in between us in the room, but that sun in me takes care of my biological life. Because that sun living in each one of you and all the plants and all the living beings takes care of that biological life. That's another sun. It's the sun on Earth, the solar energy on Earth. So this is physics of light. This is the electromagnetic light. So then that sunset, the interesting feature that's going to come, that's the biggest thing that happened, is that sun also comes down to the earth. In the west, it comes down and sets in the earth and travels in the rocks and is in the material objects. All the material objects are held together by the electromagnetic field, the non-growing field. So that's another sun, the sun that exists in the objects which we see having color, which is what Maxwell's focus was. So that, again, all these objects are traveling that way, 640 miles an hour, and the thunderclouds are coming from that way. So that's another way that the solar light comes down to the planet. This is going to take more than an hour. So each one of us in our own body, again, Black Belt says you always face south. You face south because all you can be is present. The future is going to come from the east, always. The future is always going to come from the east because that's where the sunrise is. The past is always going to be in the west because that's the end of things. The present is always going to be in front of you because even if you turn around, the present is in front of you. You'll always face south, which is a ridiculously fun thing, a fun lesson. So what you can't ever know is the immortal ones, or the great tree of life that runs through the center of the earth. So the spiritual world is behind you always, but you are incarnated in it and a big part of it. So this is where, if you're, this is the NEPI that I lead, and it's in Shazy, and this is the science classroom. So the fire, and here is where you heat the stones. The fire represents the eternal light. So the eternal fire, the sky, or the east, or where the sun always rises. So even when the sun rises, it's not just sunlight that comes to the earth, but the whole cosmic light that comes through the sun that's going into the sun too. So this is placed in the east. in this picture, that's the west, and this is the east toward us, and that's the south that way. And so you make this big cross, which is essentially the medicine wheel. So this is the turtle's head. That you make a turtle. This represents the dome of sky. And this represents this actually represents the bioregion in the smaller sense of this bioregion that these people are in, but also the bioregion of the whole bioregion that the North Country is, and then the entire Earth. So again, so you make this map so you could teach your kids. Here's the Earth, here's the Moon, here's the Sun. It's in this gigantic cosmos. The gigantic cosmos contains all the planets and all of the stars, and it is surrounded by a gigantic blackness that's beyond all the stars. That's called that in Buddhism is called the Great Womb of Life, or the blackness of all life. So this also represents the blackness of being inside of your mother's womb, but also the blackness that's beyond all the stars that we are forever in all during our life. So then the stones are brought in. The stones are brought into the lodge, and I can't talk about that. So we're trying to stick with the comparison here. I'm trying to make myself not talk. Okay, so here's a representation of what I was just saying. Here's the eternal fire. Here, this represents the moon. This represents the earth. 5 represents the people. This represents the earth. So we have people on earth, and this is just to honor our position on earth. Here's the earth and its electromagnetic field. Notice the shape. He's gonna keep referring to this as a tree. So how do you have, if you have kids and you don't have paper, you don't have pencil, and you're gonna teach your kids what is in the center of the earth? It's a gigantic tree. This shape is the shape of a tree. You see, there's this giant tree in the center of the earth in which all people live under. So and then it runs through the earth. So then we're gonna go straight to Wakantakan now, or to Wakinyan. Now we're gonna talk about the Thunderbirds themselves. So rock creates Wakinyan. So this is the story of how Thunderbird was made. So in the beginning, rock made a shapeless creature, a rock cloud, dust in the sky. The rock's energy field of Wakinyan, or electromagnetic field, actually is in each side of one. He is not only in the whole cloud of dust, but is in each single rock of dust. And then skytop Wakinyan is the electromotive force inside the cloud to cover itself in rain and to hide its powers in shape-shifting robes. So this is what the Sioux say. And rock-born Wakinyan created thundercloud. So again, this is physics. A rock, the electromotive force, or the Wakinyan is the word for the electromotive force, inside the rock, then sky taught it to wrap itself in rain, and you get a cloud. So this is how the Sioux teach how the clouds form, and then they call it a thunderbird. So then this is how science explains it. The Earth's element, or how I try to explain it as science. The Earth's elements also exist as atomic molecules in glass clouds. The Earth emits an electromagnetic field. The electromagnetic field exists in gaseous bodies. In the sky, the sun lifted water drops cling to the Earth atoms, creating a thundercloud whose electromagnetic field creates lightning. And then this is just me going, I didn't learn this from this. I learned this from this. Like I learned about electricity from going to school and learning about mechanical forms or uses of electricity. This is the most fascinating, this is one of the more fascinating examples of what you, one of the more fascinating examples of how do you teach that there's an invisible field within the thundercloud that's an electromagnetic field to someone who can't see it. So what we're all familiar with is the shape of a bird. So this is the origin of a thunderbird. So you're going to teach your kids that inside of a thunderhead is a force, and the force has incredible power. And one of the things that we have to remember is that all of the people never hear anything loud. When there was no bombs, there was no heavy radios, there was no rock and roll. The loudest thing that ever happened was a lightning bolt hitting the ground, and it would cause it would cause the buffalo to charge. It would cause a gigantic rain to fall that could wash away the teepees. The point is that the reason the Thunderbird is so big for all the Western people is it's the strongest force that's near us, that can wipe us out, and that can cause a stampede. And it can cause an immeasurable presence of light and power in front of us. Before like all of us had the mechanical experience of such loud noises, this was a powerful force. So you're going to say, the Thunderbird, you got a bird. You're going to keep going back to the bird. The Thunderbird has no feet, but it has talons. The Thunderbird has no throat, but its voice is thunder. The Thunderbird has no head, but its eye is lightning. The Thunderbird has many jointed wings for encircling. So see how we keep removing parts of the bird and changing them to get the imagination of the listener to come to what is actually the electromagnetic force inside of a thunderhead. The many jointed wings for encircling are able to be large or small. And then we have Joaquinion. Joaquinion is the electromotive force inside of the Thunderbird, or the electromagnetic field inside of the Thunderbird, and this is how I learned it from reading texts about how it was caught. So the description of Thunderbird leads us to imagine the invisible body of Joaquinion. Imagining Joaquinion, we recognize what science names the electromagnetic field that exists inside a thundercloud, the electromagnetic force field that produces lightning. The Sioux description of Joaquinion and the scientific description of electromagnetic force field are descriptions of the same unseen natural body. The thundercloud contains an unseen magnetic field. The magnetic field exists inside the whole body of the thundercloud and within each water molecule. As the thundercloud flies over the earth, the negatively charged bottom of the thundercloud pulls on the positively charged earth. In the right conditions, the opposite charges between the clouds and the earth leap through the sky, creating a sudden avalanche of ions, a release of electromagnetic energy, the event we call lightning. The unseen force field of Joaquinion becomes visible. We say, Thunderbird glanced at the earth, or Thunderbird's talons came piercing. So again, part of this is just to validate that when we read these Native Americans say these things and it sounds like they're talking about something that we don't know about, they're talking about something we know about. We just don't know how the terms of their symbology or the matrix of their language. So Thunderbird's unseen electromagnetic. So then the other thing that it says is Thunderbird's physical powers are recognized as powers attributed to electromagnetism. We are told that Thunderbird's talons pierce the hardest of things. From science, we learn that electricity and magnetism can flow through rocks and metal. Thunderbird's beak can tear apart the toughest of things. As science teaches, the electromagnetic force can explode rocks and metal. Thunderbird's wings can be recognized as descriptions of what science names the magnetic field lines. Magnetic field lines represent the magnetic field flowing through and around a particular body. Science teaches this with magnets. In the Code of Myth, we read that the Thunderbird can make its wings spread afar and make them very small. Science teaches its body with thunderhead. So here we have that inside the raindrop is this little mini Joaquinion, and over here this is bigger Joaquinion, and then the Earth itself has an electromagnetic field, and this is representing our whole entire solar system inside the gigantic galaxy. So Joaquinion are the electromagnetic. So the point being that the Lakota were well aware that this Joaquinion power is vast. Okay, so in Sioux teachings that this Joaquinion, in the Sioux teachings again, they understand that the Joaquinion excites plants and animals to generate seeds. Joaquinion urges sexual union. Joaquinion brings the fun rains. Joaquinion's a generative force that flies all over the world. To visualize Joaquinion's generative potency, we can again refer to the magnetic field lines. Keeping mindful of their polarity and powers of attraction or repulsion, we can acknowledge that Joaquinion's unseen force field has the generative force that brings rain, divides and unites cells, germinates plants, and encourages sexual union. Continuing our attention to the unseen motivated forces of Joaquinion, imagined as magnetic field lines, we acknowledge this force as a powerful guide in the creation of bodily forms. Physicists teach us that all bodies of the Earth participate in the Earth's electromagnetic field created by the Earth's reception of sunlight. The study of bioelectricity teaches us that the electric force is responsible for most physical and chemical properties of atoms and molecules of earthly bodies. Electricity is continually traveling through our bodies, signaling our nerves motivating biological growth as well as physical and mental action. This is the sun setting and the Lakota teach that the Thunderbird has an egg in the west, and the sun sets into that egg. So here, this is a description of the sun. The sun sets into Wakenyan, who emits her young, then eats them to bring them into being. So again, we're moving with this image of this electromotive force, and then leaping over to a physical example of it in the plant in physical life. So then we're going to go to science, and this is from a scientific text, and here's the electromagnetic radiation, or solar cosmic rays, sunlight, and the exosphere, and the magnetosheath, and then the ionosphere around the Earth, and that this is actually the shape of the Earth's electromagnetic tail and the geomagnetic field lines. So this is the science of the energy of the sun, or the electromagnetic field as it exists on the Earth. And so then I just took because Black Elk knows that this Thunderbird is that big, this egg inside the Thunderbird could be the ionosphere taking care of the Earth, and then these little tiny thunder beings are just the clouds that travel around the Earth, and this gigantic thing is the Earth's electromagnetic field receiving the solar winds. And again, it's just, I did that exercise just to show that the within the matrix of the way that the Sioux understand the motions of the electromagnetic field, you can we don't have any difference between a butterfly and the electromagnetic field with the people on the Earth, and the biosphere and the thunder, and what we have is a cloud. We can put the Thunderbird there. What we have is the ionosphere that protects us as an egg does, and the ionosphere acting just like an egg, because it only lets enough light in and only lets enough heat out, and then that can be the Thunderbird's egg protecting the Earth. So now we're going to make a huge leap. All of that was was traditional knowledge before Black Elk showed up, before Maxwell showed up, when both of the men saw this. So that was the electromagnetic field. So the Sioux say that Spider was the first rock, Spider and Sky were the first born. That was a hard one for me until I did this. How are you going to say what that thing looked like that we saw in science just a few slides ago? It looks just like a big spider in the sky. So here's the Earth, and here's the moon, and here's the sun shining on the Earth, and it's shaped just like that. That's the shape of the electromagnetic field. So the Sioux say the firstborn was Spider. The first one to come to rock was Spider. And then this is looking at from the top, and from the top of the Earth, as the Earth spins counterclockwise, from the top of the Earth, the electromagnetic field lines expand and expand and expand and lose power as they expand. But what it makes is a spider web. So the Sioux, in their stories, have lots of stories about Iktomi, the spider. This is Black Elk with this pipe, which is the central representation of the person, but also the central representation of the great tree, or the flowering tree that runs through the center of the Earth, holding all things together in the green hoop. This is Maxwell with what was called his favorite toy. So this is the top. Now we're going to start integrating the specific vision that changed everything in the world, and that they both received. This is Maxwell's favorite toy. So it's a spinning top, and then up here he would put little chips of different colors, and then he would spin the top, and it would show the mixing of the colors. And one of the things he gave to the world is, anytime you've ever seen any little template of mixed colors, James Clerk Maxwell made that happen with this top. This is what Black Elk kept in his mind all his life. So the turtle's always going to represent the keeper of the bioregion. The four forces of the north, south, east, and west holding the bioregion safe for the plants and the animals and the people in life. It has nothing to do with culture anywhere around the world. It's just the one who keeps life alive, which is the north-south path, which has nothing to do with the east-west path of us being cultural creatures, or creatures stuck in different kinds of cultural milieus. At varying degrees, the colors were placed on the tops. When the top was spun, the eye would witness one color created by the colors mixed. But the spinning top allowed quantitatively measuring the colors being mixed and made great strides in unraveling the mysteries of color vision, Maxwell's word. He returned to this subject repeatedly. His experiments on different individuals and studied the sensitivity of their retinas, detecting the influence of a yellow pigment that gives the sensation of the Maxwell spot. A singular product of these investigations is the first color picture, obtained by using photographic techniques in 1861. He projected it at the Royal Institution to an audience that included Faraday. The point being, Maxwell's vision gave Maxwell the awareness to project the first color photo, which led to every single color photo you've ever seen in your entire life. So this man, again, the man who changed everything is James Clerk Maxwell, in accordance with that. So this little bitty thing, and what we'll see later this is essentially what happened. What Black Elk and Maxwell brought us into is Earth used to be this solid object, and then it became a bunch of dots held together by an electromagnetic field. And that is essentially what brought about every cultural thing of Western man since 1860. Is this discovery that the whole thing rose the light of the earth up into a cloud, and it was able to be seen. Everything was able to be seen differently. So the land becomes atoms. This is also the quintessential point where we have to address the fact that Black Elk is a holy man and a visionary and a shaman, and he fell into a coma when he was 9 years old and learned everything about electromagnetism in 14 days while he was in a coma. So Black Elk was actually in this teepee when he witnessed these things. Now Maxwell, even if he was in this teepee and saw these things, wouldn't be able to say it, because you can't. That's not part of science. They don't tell you where they got their visions from. So it doesn't matter. Maxwell had visions of the same thing. So the same thing is that, so what we're going to do here is go, the land becomes atoms held, the land, our Earth, becomes atoms held together by an electromagnetic field. Black Elk witnessed and teaches this as raindrops in a cloud held together by a force field of the forces of the volcano. This vision of the world would allow both men to witness the foundation of existence of all of the cosmos as a field of light holding atoms in their forms of reality. As Black Elk says, "I saw more than I can tell, and I understood more than I saw. For I was seeing in a sacred manner the shape of all shapes, as they must live together like one being. And I saw that the sacred hoop of my people was one of many hoops that made one circle, wide as daylight and as starlight. And in the center grew one mighty flowering tree to shelter all the children of one mother and one father. And I saw that it was holy." The holiness of his witnessing a scientific fact of the construction of the cosmos is named holy because amidst the witnessing is an awareness that all that is witnessed is also one consciousness. After receiving this vision, he said, "I would take my horse and go out and compare everything on earth with the things in my vision." Black Elk, the Sioux holy man, also a scientist. Maxwell was a devout Christian, but he was a devout Christian who held Christ in his mind all the time. But he believed his relation to God was not to be public. He knew that he was no better than anyone else in explaining the relationship between the physical and spiritual worlds. Even so, he guided the consciousness of Western science into the ways of knowing already occupied by religious thought. Rather unexpectedly, Maxwell came up against the second law of thermodynamics, which theorizes that all energy will eventually dissipate and existence will come to an end. Maxwell couldn't or wouldn't say this openly, but he believes in the promises of the continuance of life from the promises of Christ and many other spiritual mythopoetic traditions he read tell of at a very early age. To solve this problem of entropy, Maxwell hypothesized that there could be the conscious existent being within the electromagnetic field who could make choices on a molecular atomic scale and so have the power to reverse the exhaustion of energy in the material world and activate the continuation of life, an active reversal of the second law of thermodynamics. This hypothesized consciousness became known as Maxwell's demon. Maxwell was critically attacked by nearly all of his contemporaries. This may be why he isn't given a place in history. Maxwell's demon, however, went on to change the consciousness of all scientific thought. Acknowledging consciousness on an electromagnetic atomic field, atomic level, began a method of scientific thought experiments that Einstein made his own. Maxwell's demon led to the creation of the information theory, which is the underpinning conscious that guides our electromagnetic communication devices and all our computer discoveries. Maxwell, the man who made the world over. So here again we have this just simple thing is this is what Maxwell used, this is what Blackhawk used. So now we're going to go right into the vision. Now in the vision, Maxwell's Blackhawk's invited by Wakan Takan into the cloud to be shown the laws of electromagnetic cloud, which is no way to call it. So he gets up, he arrives right here. These are horses. These dots are representing horses. All the dots will be representing horses. He learned this from horses in a cloud. So all these are horses. He arrives and the horses are in 4 directions, of course. So this field of horses will become this Maxwell's field of forces, or electromagnetic force field. So Blackhawk sees it as a field of horses. So there's white horses in the north and yellow horses in the south, and black or blue. Oh, I forgot to tell you that the Sioux don't distinguish between black and blue. So you got blue, or I changed them to blue for the rainbow thing, but again, it wasn't making that. So then here, the Blackhawk's horse emanates thunder, neighs thunder. It travels through these horses. The 4 horses take formation, and the calling travels through these 4 lines of horses, and the cloud of horses, like the whole wall, the whole entire sky of horses, shows up with a rainbow of horses. So Blackhawk standing there, his horse yells through the 4 colors of horses, and the whole sky just bellows back with a rainbow of horses, right? So then all the formation of horses turns toward the north, and then the rainbow field. So the rainbow field comes. I'm standing here facing westward. The horses, my horse neighs. Then the whole sky fills with rainbow horses. 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 You can go on Mars. Then so Blackhawk is standing in the sky full of rainbow horses. So then go another one. So then the horses line up in this kind of formation. Now this is where it's ambiguous. There's a few places in the text that it's kind of hard to figure out what the horses are doing. So then the horses line up in a formation, and you can go 4. And they start running around in a circle like that. So that's good. So then this whole thing starts turning. So the thing's turning like that, and he's standing in, and the whole sky full of horses is circling in the millions and millions of horses. And then go to the next one. And from that circling, from the circling of the teepee of horses, a teepee arises. So now what you have is this vortex thing, which is just, again, we're talking electromagnetic field energy. This field of horses goes, this vortex of energy begins. As the vortex begins, because there's the upward thrust of the electromagnetic field, the teepee rises up from the water. The teepee or water rises up because of that magnetism rising the electricity up. He saw magnetism create electricity, and then the teepee emitted light in a rainbow, in a ray, and that ray was also a ring. But not only is this a ray and a ring, but this is a sphere. So he's standing in the teepee, and all of a sudden, a ray goes out the front door from the sixth grandfather, and he's surrounded in a spherical rainbow, right? So he just witnessed what Einstein thinks. After all of this culture is gone, Einstein thinks the most important thing that will be remembered is Maxwell's discovery that light expands in a sphere. That light expands from a single point in a sphere, in a complete sphere. And Einstein thinks that's the most important discovery that's been made in all of science. But in any case, this is how Black Elk witnessed. This is how Black Elk witnessed that same phenomenon. See, we can go again. Yeah. So now we got the side view. What happened was, so after this occurs, the horses go back into formation. The 12 different colored horses go back into formation, and when the teepee emerged, the six grandfathers emerged within the teepee. And Black Elk is one of the six grandfathers in the sense, and in the way that you tell this spiritually, he represents humanity on Earth being asked by Wakan Takan to understand this new force that was going to be given to human beings by the Great Spirit. Wakan Takan is going to give this new electromotive force to the people because they need it to survive now. And that's how spiritually you talk about science. So Black Elk actually learned how the Indian in me talks about science. So we needed this, we ask, and it will be given. So like that. So anyway, Black Elk gets its vision. So millions of horses circling around me, a sky full of horses of all colors. You will witness the willpower of the western forces of Wakinyan, the thunder beam. So now I'm just going to read this to you because it's from the text, and it's actually what happens to Black Elk is he's being talked to by the four directions. He's being talked to by the directional horses. He's being talked to by the grandfathers inside the teepee. That's how he's explaining what he's witnessing. And that's how he's learning as he's in the cloud, as he's 9 years old, as a spirit in the cloud. He's learning what he's got to do when he comes back to Earth. But the White Peace Nation so he's being told, the Thunder Being Nation is appearing, may you behold. The White Peace Nation is appearing, may you behold. You shall represent the wing of the great white giant that lives. You shall create a nation. A good nation will be made over. A nation's center of the earth I shall give you with the powers of the four quarters. You wanted my power on earth, so you shall know me. All over the universe my horses are coming. The horse's voice went all over the universe like a radio. It was more beautiful than anything could be. Every living thing heard this horse sing. Birds, horses, tree leaves, and everything in the universe danced to the music of the horse's song. It was so beautiful that they just couldn't help dancing. Everything is living. Trees, flowers, grass, every animal is living because of this song. Black Elk received the vision at the age of 9. As a boy, he lived afraid of thunderheads. For in his culture, if you don't do what they told you to do, they will kill you with lightning. So every time the thunderheads came after he had this vision, he ran and hid. At the age of 16, fearing for his mental health, his parents brought him to a shaman, and he shared his vision and was told that he had to enact it on Earth and so organize a horse dance. So Black Elk gets the tribe, and they actually paint 4 horses red, and 4 horses yellow, and 4 horses black, and get 4 white horses, and they put a teepee in the middle, and all the people watch as he animates this thing he saw with horses and a teepee. And apparently, again, you got to make a spiritual leap to go with this. The horses were animate. The horses actually did the thing. Like the horses knew to do the thing to show the people what was happening. So And again, within the context of his culture, he received this vision. He's limited by his cultural surround, Black Elk, to do what he can do for his people appropriate to the cultural surround that he's in. So what we have is Black Elk does a horse dance to show his people this, and then he translates it. In 1930, he gives it to Neinhardt, and it becomes the book Black Elk Speaks. So that vision comes down to the world as this horse dance, and then to us as Black Elk Speaks. But here is what Maxwell did with it. This is what Maxwell did to it. So this is every single electromagnetic telecommunication device and everything that happens in any kind of electromagnetic telecommunication device comes from this. And this is a description of exactly what you saw in the TP. The essence of the theory is embodied. So in electromagnetic theory of light, the essence of the theory is embodied in 4 equations which connect the 6 main quantities. Now I don't know this, but I'm going to give you an example of how I've done this research. In my head, the Indian head says 6 main quantities. I'm not a physicist. I don't have the slightest idea what they're talking about. But I have a hunch from Black Elk, 6 grandfathers. The 6 forces that take care of the balance on Earth, the sky, the Earth, and the 4 directions were risen up into the teepee. And so these 6 main qualities maintain, these 6 main qualities that are maintained in this room that we're in, that are maintaining the bioregion, are the 6 grandfathers in the teepee. And the 4 equations, are the 4 directions, like that. So that's sort of. So then I go to sort. See, that was an example of me trying to figure out this thing. So here's math above the teepee. Maxwell was the first to apply statistical law in physics, the distribution of molecules in a gas state, leading to innumerable uses of statistical mathematics for the prediction of physical events. Anytime you've seen statistics used to predict physical events, the first person on the planet to do that was James Clerk Maxwell. So that's it. So anyway, this is what he did. This is how Black Elk did it. It just kept it like this. But Maxwell did this, made this 3-dimensional thing that everybody that knows way more about, anybody that knows a little bit more about math than me, knows that you can use this to describe this little dot going like that. So you can use this to describe the flow of molecules in a gaseous cloud, and that's what Maxwell did. So Maxwell's math is able to describe the electromotive force inside space. So by being able to have mathematical equations that describe the rotation of the magnetosphere and the rising of the thing, he gave it to engineers, and engineers could see the math, which I couldn't, the way that I've drawn the images, and then they could apply it to making a metal thing that could hold that force. And that's how the electromotive force came down into all the machines that we have. So this is how we experience electricity. And this is what we think of as electricity and electromagnetism. So there's the sun, although most of us don't include the sun when we switch on the light, but we don't have a light to switch on unless the sun shines on the earth. So there's the sun shining on the thunder beam. Thunder beams have that duality, it rains, the rain comes down to the dam. The dam, the power of the water comes over the dam. Inside the dam there's this huge amount of energy, right? Electromagnetic energy being generated. So the energy is being extracted from the power of the water is making electromagnetism happen. It goes up the electromagnetic lines, comes to our house, we switch on our switch, and the light bulb in our house goes on, or also the TV goes on. The TV goes on. This is old school TV, by the way. 3 different colors, white, 3 different colors. White through the 3 different colors makes an image. Where did you see this before? White, 3 different colors, makes an image on a field. So Maxwell was the first to project a color image, and we just saw the horses line up and project the color image in Black Elk's vision. So here, this is what I saw 20 years ago that I didn't know I saw until the challenge by the honor. Well, go back. The honor challenge is that teepee that Black Elk saw. Here's the horses running around. That's exactly what happens inside the dam. The magnetic field goes like that and creates electric current. The electric current comes down, and we're going to pretend this teepee is a television station. The electric current comes down the television station. I don't know how they get what they get, but how they do what they do. But the point is that the word "now" comes out, and when the word there's a picture, and they're taking a picture of somebody, and let's just take a picture of that swimming pool right there. So Thunderbird, and Jeff says Thunderbird, and the camera right there, and might go into the camera, and then it goes up to the TV station and comes out, and when Jeff Cochran says Thunderbird, it comes out, and when Jeff Cochran says Thunderbird, it comes out of the antenna that's on the mountain, it goes out spherical everywhere. And that any TV, anywhere within the radius of these rays, is the word Thunderbird is going to come down into that TV, and the image is going to come down into that TV, and it's going to be presented on the TV. So here's the horses as they lined up, and where Black Elk's horse called through the horses and made the image happen. So again, here we just saw this is Jeff Cochran seeing that the generation of electromagnetic energy, the projection of that energy in a sphere that rays out, and then the reception and projection within the cloud. So that's Black Elk's vision of electromagnetism. So then what happens is, now we're kind of coming to Black Elk foresaw, as Black Elk had his vision, he saw that the electromagnetic power, as it came to destroy, he knew it was going to make his nation over, but all nations. He was going to make all nations over. And how it was going to make all nations over was the damming of the river. And in his vision, there's a blue flaming man. The blue flaming man stops at the river and causes destruction. Now, for us who grew up in houses, we don't think of the houses as destruction. But if you're an Aboriginal or you're Native American, this is just a destructive force that destroyed a whole bunch of bioregion. So the dam becomes what makes this possible, and it's the blue flaming man who's considered an enemy of Wakan Takan, and who actually, in the vision, is destroyed. As someday they'll go to say someone will take away the electromagnetism. When that happens, the blue flaming man will turn into a turtle. The turtle is always this absolutely loving thing that we live within, which is the dome of the sky and the Mother Earth. When the electromagnetism goes away, the people aren't going to go away, the rocks aren't going to go away, the plants aren't going to go away. Just the culture is going to go away. And this is what Black Elk teaches to believe in the flowering tree, or the tree of life and the great green hoop of life. So in his vision, the dam is actually destroyed. So the dam eventually is destroyed, and dead it is a turtle. Again, the turtle is where we always are. We're always in the turtle. We're inside the culture, but we're inside the turtle. So you can go another one. So the interesting thing is, as Black Elk said, the unnatural ones, who are the thunder beings, who we are, all of us in this room, are the thunder beings, and in living in an unnatural time, will bring a tree, an unnatural tree, upon which we will all depend as an old man depends upon a king. And our life, essentially, has been lived that way. And that we all live in houses, but we know that we are depending upon the houses in a way that's unnatural. And that's just a source of difficulty in our spiritual life. And Black Elk acknowledges that in his vision. And there's clouds are made in our mind that don't know who or what we're serving because of this duality. We live in this. Oh, here we are right here, by the way. That's the Champlain Wine Company. See, that's Blackbird. There's the Champlain Wine. We're right inside up there. So the tree of life is always, let's see, so the psychological difficulties are represented in Black Elk's vision because we can confuse ourselves of what this, literally, we're going to go straight to science. What's the source of life-giving light? Well, all of us got refrigerators and heaters and everything and cameras and video things, and we go to them for the source of light and for the source of the energy. But really, all of that's plugged into the dam, and the dam's plugged into the thunderclouds, and the thunderclouds are plugged into the sun. So even though we're inside this room, the thunderclouds plugged into the sun. All of what we have is dependent upon the Thunderbirds and the consciousness of the Thunderbirds. And again, and so then, yeah. So right. Oh, by the way, when Black Elk had its vision and was told about the unnatural tree coming, in New York at the very same time is when St. Nicholas was accepted and the Christmas tree ritual began, and the grid system of designing cities. Right when Black Elk was having the vision that an unnatural tree was coming, the American people were accepting the Christmas tree to honor as a symbol of who they were and how they lived. Okay. So this is just a representation of Adam and Eve that I did for a Santa Claus talk. But one of the things that all cultures have is a moment when we get consciousness of a divine golden time when we were intimate and had perfect relationships with nature, and there was no death because we knew ourselves to be a part of a great living tree that was endless and that we would never leave, our body would never leave. And so all cultures have a fall moment where we steal the light, and my favorite image of that is picking an apple off a tree, taking a bite of the apple, and then pretending that it's an Apple II computer, like your little phone thing, and you look into it and you see how the whole tree works. Well, if you actually see how a whole tree works, any tree, it's plugged into everything. It's plugged into all the planets, all the stars, it's plugged into the four directions, it's plugged into the earth turning there than anything. If you look into a single apple, you see everything. The thing is our busy little minds go, cool, look at that shape. Carve, 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 carve. Cool, look at that shape. Draw, 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 draw. Cool, look at that shape. Make a little tinker thing. And then we got really, really happy about that in the mid 1800s. So we can go to another one. So then we ended up in these. In this spectacular moment. Again, way more dramatic for the Sioux people because a lot of cultures had time to get this thing dumped on them. But for the Native American cultures, it just hit full bore already with the boxes. They didn't have a chance. There was no, all of a sudden there was this whole other thing that just slammed over them. And the other way that Black Elk talks about it is a gray blanket was spread over the whole people. Here's the gray blanket. Notice we have our spider friend and the web. So here's the World Wide Web, literally. I mean, that's my image of the World Wide Web, all of that. And these could be communication lines that cause for the distribution of goods, natural goods in and out of the city. So this is known as the gray blanket, or Iktiomia, the spider trickster. We think we are inside of this building plugged into the dam, but we also are inside of the turtle that's all around this building that's taking care of us and loves us from the six directions. And we are always inside of the turtle. And so we can go again. So this thing spread over the whole entire world. Now another fun thing about the medicine wheel is it's red, yellow, black, and white, and it represents the red people, the yellow people, the black people, and the white people. All the people being dependent upon the green hoop of life that runs around the earth this way as the equatorial hoop. And like I said before, even this building, even what I eat every day or what you eat every day comes from this great green hoop upon which we all depend. And then there it is. Good timing. Wow. That was a telepathy one. The sacred hoop is the continents of the world, and the people shall stand as one. This is Blackout talking. The sacred hoop is the continents of the world, and the people shall stand as one. Everything reproduces here inside the hoop. From there we shall multiply, for it is the greatest of the greatest sticks. He's talking about the tree that runs through the center of the earth. And he's talking about it as a stick. All of us know what a magnet is, but he's talking about it as a stick, right? So this stick will take care of the people, and at the same time it will multiply. We live under the flowering stick like under the wing of a hen. Because all of us, the electromagnetic field's going over us like this. And it's called the path of the geese, the white geese that fly from the north to the south. So all the time we're inside of this great electromagnetic field that's not filled with advertisement or television shows. It's taking care of biology and people and rocks and plants and animals, and it loves us being people and living beings. And it has no information other than taking care of our life, like our living, the living. So that's why the North Pole and the wing of the white giant that Black Elk is told in his vision that he will be represented, he will be the wing of the white giant that lives at some point. So we will raise our children, and under the flowering stick we will communicate with our relatives, beasts and birds, as one people. This stick is the center of the life of the nation. They have given me the power to make over this nation. Let me go here. And then, so here I took the gray blanket off of all of us, and we're going up to the North Pole, and at the North Pole, these are just the wings of the white giant that lives, the electromagnetic field that takes care of us. And this is the Earth actually getting information from all the stars and all the planets and all the cosmos, and that energy that comes into the Earth and goes into the center of the Earth, impregnates the Earth, and everything on the Earth from the center of the Earth is called Grandmother Earth, and all the things on the Earth are called Mother Earth. And this impregnation from the celestials, the celestial light into the Mother Earth then allows for the transformation, or what science calls evolution. Here, see how happy we are? All our heads are dangling in the great tree of life. So there's a little tree of life, but then there's a tree of life that runs through the center of the Earth, and the Aurora Borealis, and the Aurora Borealis is coming down to the top of my head and the top of all your heads, and we're all going like this. Like we're all okay, go. So now we're going to come to something very terrible. Even though this is all beautiful and this rainbow of life is taking care of us, everywhere we are, all the time, the four directors are taking care of us. That vision, as we know, the vision of electromagnetism emerging from matter, led to the atom bomb. This is my picture of the atom bomb. So, so this is how this happened to Black Elk. A man in black with lightning flashes all over him. He had horns all around him. The animals and everything were dying and crying. Someday shall depend upon him. There will be a dispute all over the universe. He will be given a power. Black Elk was given a powerful herb that could be used in war and could destroy a nation. If you touch this herb, it will kill you at once. There will be a dispute of nations, and you will defend your people with this herb. Black Elk is being told. This medicine belongs only to me, Black Elk says. With this herb, everything you face will be like it, and the world will tremble. It is not old. I was not old enough when I was supposed to use this herb, or else I could have used it and killed many enemies. It was too terrible to use, and I am glad I did not get to use it. I am glad I did not perform this killing, for I would have not only killed the enemy, but I would probably have killed the women and children of the enemy. I'm satisfied that I am not well off. Perhaps I would have been a chief if I'd obeyed this, but I'm satisfied that I didn't become a chief. In the fourth ascent, he could hear war all over the world, because he knew that this would be used. At the age of 37 in 1900, Black Elk looked around him and he realized that there's no way he was going to be able to use the soldier weed and wipe out the Wasichus. He had the option. He was given the option and the power to wipe out all the Euro-Americans with the power of the soldier weed. But he couldn't do it because a Sioux warrior cannot kill women and children, and he saw it in his vision that he would have to kill all the women and children, all the Wasichus, not just the Wasicha warriors. And so he gave up, in the year 1900, he gave up the option of using the soldier wheel. In science, in the year 1900, Madame Curie isolated radium, and the atom bomb was on its way to being invented. And Black Elk converted in the year 1903, and he happened to convert on December 6th, St. Nicholas Day, and so he's named Nicholas Black Elk. And so I am so happy because he lives in the North Pole with Santa Claus, and that's just what he was told he was going to live there. And Santa Claus runs the whole east-west road of difficulties, and Black Elk's up there running the good red road, and I'm so glad they're both up there, except for there's global warming now, so I don't know if they might have to move. So there's just a picture of the green hoop and the tree. And then here's just on the tree thing, just to read what Black Elk wanted. Black Elk wanted his vision of the flowering tree, the tree of the white giant that lives, shared, so that Indians and non-Indians could come together to one truth, to behold the circle of the sacred hoop. And for the people shall be like unto it. And if they are like unto this, they shall have power, because there is no end to this hoop, and in the center of this hoop they raise their children. So the hoop he's continuously referring to is the green hoop of life, and the tree of life that runs through the center of the green hoop, which is the everlasting tree of life that's known as the electromagnetic field, or the tree of life that runs through the center of the earth. So then, just to get, behold this stick. With this stick you shall walk with your nation to where the big giant lives. Following the wind blowing from south to north, you shall prevent the making of clouds. A good nation I have asked to be made over. The Thunderbird nation has arisen. The White Geese nation has arisen. In a time that does not judge, the people will know there is one tree and one hoop, the mothering and fathering of all living beings. My people will be relative like with the thunder beings. People will be as spheres of water in a cloud, yet they are to remember the cloud is inside the powers of the tree and the hoop of life everlasting. In the vision, Black Elk said, in the vision, Black Elk said, beautiful butterflies of all kinds were hovering over me. They were so thick when they flew around me that I could see nothing but these beautiful little butterflies of all colors. And a voice said, these are your people. This is a representation of Black Elk understanding the energetic body, or the body of Wakino within his own body. So he painted, I accented this, but he painted lines along his body. The lines along his body represent what we call chi, or the Holy Spirit, or the power to make grow, what he would call the power to make grow, the energetic body within his own body. So he painted himself that way because he's a holy man, and he has to teach people that this energetic body is within them. So then he's just the most stunningly beautiful thing. Beautiful butterflies of all kinds were hovering over me while I was in his vision. They were so thick when they flew around me that I could see nothing but these little butterflies of all colors. And a voice said, these are your people. American stick. And then we back down to the earth. And then we have the energetic body. And then we're always on the earth, no matter what we call it. And that's it. We're taken care of by the white giant that lives. All the men and women. If we are still, we are always taken care of by the truth. Just to conclude, I just wanted to say how the two men died. Black Elk was told that he would represent the wing of the white giant that lives while he was in his vision at the age of 9. When Black Elk died, his relatives gathered at the house where his body lay. His relations came and sat around the little house where his body lay. Olivia said, I picked his granddaughter. It was a really nice night. It was just the night to sit, warm and with a wind. And all of a sudden, it started to get light. And it was almost as light as daylight. And the northern lights were dancing. They were dancing so much it scared me. I thought it was the end of the world, the way the whole thing was just lit up. The whole sky lit up from the north. It scared us half to death. Maxwell's death. Though his pain, this is by his doctor who was with him at his side, though his pain was of a kind to try severely any ordinary patience and fortitude, they were never spoken of by him in a complaining tone. The approach of death did not disturb his habitual composure. His thoughts and concentration were for others rather than for himself, and particularly for his wife. His intellect remained clear and apparently unimpaired to the last. While his body's strength was ebbing away to death, his mind never wandered or wavered, but remained clear to the very end. No man ever met death more consciously or more kindly. Thank you, Black Oak. Thank you, Maxwell. Thank all of you who are here. Thank you, Turtle. Thank the Great Tree of Life.